Hi, I'm Anna.
I'm Ben.
We are AutoSave. Welcome to our channel.
Today we're watching Rezero, Season 2, Episode 15. Last episode was a big one. A lot happened. Puck broke a contract. Otto is going to be talking to Garf in a very tense moment. I hope Subaru's going to be okay. I don't know. I mean, if anybody could diffuse the situation, it would be Otto, right? He's been showing us how capable he is.
He knows how to talk to hard-headed individuals.
But also, he has knowledge from Subaru since that line of communication is now fully open. So hopefully he's been given a little bit of wisdom of what would piss Garf off or what would make Garf somewhat...
Yeah, we have like a detective in here talking about the individual psychology of Garf.
Yeah. And God, I want to know more about Mother Fortuna and what happened in Amelia's past that has been blocked out. I need it. I need it.
How's she feel now? Last thing we got of her was feeling like everyone's lied to her and she's run away.
Yeah.
And obviously Subaru finds her at the very end, but...
What's the trial going to look like?
What is her next trial going to look like?
You ready?
These are the questions, yes.
Sweet. Yes. Oh! Oh! Did Otto lay a booby trap? And he took his gem. Oh my god. Best merchant in the game. In the woods. Oh my god. The entire forest is against you is such a line.
Especially when he can turn into a beast.
God, Otto's so cool.
But it's also kind of sad when he's like, I've never really had any human friends. Backstory for Otto?
This is everything to me. The blessing I was born with. Is this his parents? Oh, look at them. Wow. You could hear the voice faintly there. Otto's brother.
It's quieter that way. Oh, stop! I'm so glad they were that happy. What a good big brother. Wow. He's starting to understand them.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
I hope people aren't scared. If they can't understand, then they could be scared. Try to take advantage of it.
Aww. Fofu.
Oh, little sibling. Told all the friends. It's gonna happen.
Oh my god!
Causes like a plague.
I sealed my divine protection. What?
Kill him?
Oh god.
Oh.
Yeah, he did.
This is probably the happiest he's ever been, though.
Think about how he's been talking to Subaru about a friend.
Oh no.
Do you think the animals helped him escape? Oh! What's his name? Ricardo?
To the...
It's like predicting that it was gonna rain.
Has he not cried since that day? A rebirth in my life.
Interesting. Oh.
Oh no. Bad one. What?
Was he using it too much? Oh my god, what is this? This is the best thing I've ever seen. Otto gets the song behind him.
Gonna cry?
What is that? Oh!
Distraction. He went a different way.
Man, what a legend. Oh! Oh! Don't talk to Otto like that, okay? I can't. You can talk to Subaru like that. In my own way. Oh.
Oh.
Oh. The acknowledgement from Ram.
A man who only has good timing.
Oh my god. Come on, Ram. Woo! God, Ram's so cool!
The best maids don't have to be soothing.
What the fuck? God. Well,
Oh, well.
a little too late for that.
Let's have a good conversation. Make it worth it, please.
Oh my god. Was that the name of the episode? Was that the title card? Otto got his own title card.
He's basically like, yeah, that's true, but that doesn't change how I
Look at the
feel.
reflection in his eyes. He's doing what Rem did for him.
醜いって言えるところまで含めてリアって存在が丸ごと好きなんだ。
勝手すぎるじゃない。ダメだってたくさん言ったくせに好きなんて信じられるわけない。
頭から間違ってんだよ。何がどうだから君が好きだ。だから信じられる。こうだ。
好きってだけで信じる理由になんてならない。
好きってだけで信じられねえんなら、お前みたいな面倒な女のためにこんな苦しい思いまでして助けに来なきゃな。頭がおかしくなるぐらい、死んでもいいぐらいお前が苦しいのも我慢して、今も吐きそうなのにお前の前に
そんなこと私お願いしてない。二人ってスバルこそ私の気持ちなんて何も考えてくれ。私のせいでいつも傷ついてるの。で見てるか全然分かってない。
わかるもんかよ。考えも得てんのはお前の前でカッコつける方法ばっかだ。思い通りに可愛い顔しろよ。
お人形さんみたいに言わないで。破ったりするの。お願いしたこと守ってくれたらそれでいいのに。してくれないの。私のこと本当は嫌いなんだ。嘘つき。
嘘じゃねえ。お前が好きだ。
だったらどうして約束を破った。
言えねえ。
約束を守って朝まで一緒。きっと私スバルを信じられた。きっと全部を預けられた。なのに会いたくなって記憶がちょっとずつ戻ってきたの。知らない景色が覚えてない会話が溢れてくるの。今までもちゃんと覚えてなかったことにして記憶が全部戻った時、私どうなるの。私は私なの。朝間のことも忘れて私は間違ってないの。大事なのは最初でも途中でもなく最後なんだから。
あ、そうだよな、お母さん。エミリアがどんな思い出を思い出しても何も変わらないよ。俺はお前が好きだ。ずっと好きなまんまだ。
信じられない。スバルが好きだってそう言ってくれ。
If the me that you say you love goes away.
言える。君はいなくならない。俺は君が好きだ。
嘘つきのくせに信じさせてくれなかったくせに。
信じさせてやる。
そう。
嫌なら避けろ。
And dodge.
ずエミリアを好きなままだ。何があっても変わらない。前より好きになるぐらいだ。俺は君のことをずっと信じてる。どうしてかって言うなら、
好きだから。
知らない記憶が溢れてきてって怖いのも当然だ。歩いた道は消えない。
What a line.
大丈夫だよ。
そんな風に言えるの。
なのは最初じゃない、最後だからだ。俺の世界一尊敬する女の人が言ってた。大丈夫だよエミリア。俺の味方だ。何でも思い出したらいい。それでもまだ怖いなら見つけよう。
何を。
エミリアを好きな気持ちで突っ走れるみたいに飛ばして突っ走れるようになる大事な気持ちをだよ。な気持ちが俺に向けられるのを期待したいとこだけどね。
私の大事な気持ち。記憶を全部取り戻した中に私の大事な気持ち。
ああ、きっとあるぜ。続ける理由が。
Oh, now it's his reflection. Oh my
Like she really saw
God.
him in that moment.
Jesus Christ.
いやー、待たせたな。待っちゃいねえ。
Okay, that was Rezero, Season 2, Episode 15. That episode was everything to me.
I would have never, ever... Okay, so it was already big to me, to get more Otto after first getting introduced to that character, it was already like, wow, I can't believe that this character is actually going to exist more in this universe and be more relevant to the story and be more present. That was already something that surprised me. But this episode for Otto was like taking that up a notch of like being surprised that we got something of him.
I'm speechless. I feel like I need to do something. Like, I feel like I need to throw things or eat a shoe or something like something big, you know?
Oh, those are the only big things you could think of.
I'm just so happy. I think that this will be the episode of Rezero that I rewatch the most.
This one definitely, at least right now, since we're discussing things, out of seeing a lot of episodes of the show, this episode in particular, I really feel like I would do well with a rewatch. Like, I would be a bonus to my like experience watching this show and understanding it.
If you know me, you will know how much of a compliment I intend this to be. The only thing I can relate to the feeling that I have of watching what I just witnessed was in season 3 of Mob Psycho when Reagan starts to run. I have never in my, like, I look, one of my biggest complaints in anything that I've watched is specifically SAO. Is the idea of not bringing back your intro song in an emotional moment that the protagonist chooses to go forward and fight, or just an action-packed emotional moment. And in SAO Abridged, they managed to do it with the song that they used for their intro. Many great animes that I have had the honor of watching have done it with theirs. Mob Psycho did it with theirs, and it blew me away because it wasn't even the protagonist.
It wasn't even I think that's why it was so emotional.
This took it to a level that has never been seen, that the sun has never shined its light on. And I cannot believe that it feels like I have been transported into a parallel dimension that is made just for me and just to make me happy. And it has cultivated and created Otto getting to have the moment of the fucking season while being backed by the season 2 opening song. I adore that song.
That's so awesome to bring up that, to have remembered that comparison for Mob Psycho like that, of not only is it bringing back the intro song and it, you know, really, really working for the emotions of the viewer, but it not even being for the protagonist. That's like a really great recall there.
It's not like, at first, like, I'm like, oh, Otto, I fucking love you, dude. But it's transcended to a level of, holy shit, what a great fucking character. We got, like, his backstory was amazing. His divine protection, right?
His blessing, yeah.
And how it isolates you because nobody else in the world would know what it's like to have one other than somebody with one. And what it did to his communication, how his parents saw him as a boy, to his older brother communicating him with writing things on a piece of paper, showing that to his parents, that opening up. The idea of everything. I don't want to just like list off everything that we just watched, but everything about it was emotional, tragic, and like halfway through I'm like, he's saying about never having friends, never having a friend, and thinking about how his interaction with Subaru has been the last few episodes and how profound it's been, like, and where that comes from absolutely breaks my heart, puts it back together, and kisses it.
No wonder. I think this episode is an amazing episode to get right after Straight Bet, last episode, of the actual kind of conversation between Otto and Subaru, the actual kind of pushing of Subaru around, both emotionally, like mentally, in like kind of getting through all of the haze that he has, like really getting him to understand Otto's words. And then also, like, the physical, you know, he was besting Subaru physically because Subaru's head was so hazy, he was running on emotions. And to have this episode after, it's like, I think, of course, that helps with the emotional feeling for the viewer and, like, why this was so emotional for me, so wanting to cry, is because you can now think back at that interaction that was already emotional, was already amazing. The dialogue, there were so many lines of dialogue that we referenced afterward in discussion that we adored for that conversation. Like, all the knots in his head, spit out all the knots.
Tell me to believe in you.
Tell me to believe in you. Like, everything that was said was already amazing. But now having, like, more of the actual backstory of what would have pushed Otto to have this conversation, but what it means to him to be open and honest in this way and to be striving so hard to have this person in front of him not only, like, see him, but see himself. Like, he wants to be seen by Subaru. He wants Subaru to count on him. It's really beautiful and emotional, and I am really, really glad through, like, structure that they gave us this backstory right after. So now I can think back to that conversation, and it fuels the emotions even more for it.
I feel like, as we should, and as I assume that other people watching felt, like, shine light on how great the other part of the episode was and everything with Amelia.
Oh,
and
definitely.
I want to get to that.
We will get to it.
But I feel like words
episode.
enough, and I'm incapable of expressing my gratitude in human words, in human vocabulary, vernacular. It's not possible. Like, I was speechless this entire episode. I couldn't believe what I don't even remember watching this episode. Like, I don't remember what I looked like. It was like an out-of-body experience. Like, the second that song started playing, I was like, oh my god, there's no way they're playing the opener for this insane moment that is Otto running. I'm hallucinating. I'm getting it wrong. It's not actually the opener. My mind's playing tricks on me since I haven't seen the opener a ton this season, because ReZero's going the fucking extra mile I've never seen an anime do and stretching out episodes to, like, the 28th, 27th minute, which I don't even think's allowed, and they're just doing it anyway, and I'm just mind blown.
I think that...
How do you do that? Do you, like... I don't know how Japanese broadcasting works, but you have to limit specific shows in appealing to a network because they have commercial spots that they need to force to air. They have advertisers that they need to pay. How do you, like, push a show 3 minutes beyond and it not be a once-off every 6 months? It's like every episode.
It's like every episode.
Sorry,
we
I'm
get
just
an intro and outro.
word vomiting at this point. I'm astounded. What a great show.
So to give Otto the intro song here, I'm going away from really gushing about Otto and just talking about thematically for the episode what's happening there. So, because it ties into the conversation, the very last dialogue of this episode between Amelia and Subaru. So, if you remember, since we hardly ever see the intro in actuality, because ReZero tends to just run for the entirety, just content.
And more. There's a penalty time.
And more. We don't really get to see the intro very often. And if you remember back to what it is, it's basically Subaru climbing over and racing over all of these versions of himself and failures and dead bodies and reaching, he's still running forward, still moving forward. And what we have been given with Otto for the first, half or more of this episode is this idea of how he handled his life, and this idea of every time he cries, this rebirth that he has, this continuation to grow and move forward that he sees in his own life. And what he's doing in this moment is not only moving forward, on a more, he's moving forward in both a physical way and since he really spoke up to Subaru, he's been moving forward in a more internal way as well.
Yeah.
Him really speaking up to Subaru and kind of telling someone, hey, dude, I want to be your friend and I want you to trust in me. That is, like, so far from being isolated and not having any friends. That's moving so far forward. Do you know how much anxiety that would probably cause to be like, I care about you, and really be saying all the harsh things that he was saying to Subaru last episode? That wasn't easy. It was really big and awesome for him to have that moment. He worked himself up to it.
Coming from a place, like, imagine that you don't have the privilege of being able to easily make friends because of the divine protection that you've been given. And seeing somebody in front of you being like naive to the friendship that is.
He could have been jealous of Subaru. Like, he could have had negative feelings towards Subaru, but if anything, he has this lovely desire to want to shake him and be like, dude, like, open your eyes. Like, I care about you. It's the same thing that Subaru wants to do for Amelia. Is that Amelia wants to...
I'm crying.
They
just
wanna...
thinking about
Both
Otto.
Subaru and Amelia are characters that want to help others and want to think less about themselves. They want to ignore themselves. And both of them need those, like, same conversations, which is why we get that, I think, a lovely fight at the end of the episode.
Just to cap it off, there was a really good line that Otto had to Garf saying that the forest is against you. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was so badass. I hope that, I feel like it could make sense to put it in here. I don't know how long this life's gonna last. If this is the last life for Subaru, but regardless, I hope that Ram and Otto are alive, at least by the end of the episode, with Garf showing up covered in blood.
I would agree with that. I mean, we did get some, like, scary thoughts from Echidna and from talking to the witches of, like, to get to that ideal future, will there have to be sacrifices? But we know that, like, Subaru doesn't, from his kind of declaration to Roswell, he doesn't want to leave anyone behind. He wants everyone to be happy at the end of the day, and he wants to pull everyone with him moving forward through this into the brightest future.
I thought that the Soul of Language blessing was somehow going to play into Otto's, like, defeat or fight against Garf, because, like, obviously, like, Garf has that animal beast-like form, so I was wondering if that would have any, like, I don't know, spillover.
Yeah, I like that, it's like this is a human who has this tie to nature, and then we have this beast person who should have more of a tie to nature, but obviously it's this human that is having this comparison with Garf and Subaru of, like, both being very, like, driven by these emotions a lot of the time. Garf is a very great example of that. He's just, like, to the fact that one of the reuses that we talked to last episode, I think it was Arma that we were talking to, who was like, dude, I don't even know what he, like, is he being run by hatred? Is he being run by, like, the Ryuzus don't even know what's driving Garf. How he feels about his mom. He still uses the last name. Like, no one knows what's going on in that head.
Last thing I'll say, I'm sorry, I probably won't be. I'm sorry for being annoying. That plot point of, like, Otto talking to, like, a girl and boy cat to get, like, the tea on how many men this girl has been with, like, was the wildest shit I have ever seen. I've seen it.
I didn't like how the boy cat was meowing. The girl cat, I was like, okay, I'm not a fan of this. And then when the guy cat walked up and started meowing, I was like, I could do without this.
That could be its entire, like, its own anime. This, like, somebody who has the, like, Otto himself being, like, a private eye that you can hire to find out if your spouses are cheating or anything, and he uses animals to, like, as covert operatives.
Yeah, and then he could, like, it could be more like reality TV too, and he could set up stings and traps. Because we already know that he's, like,
great at setting up traps. It's like Team Rocket.
And he's, like, gonna trap your significant other cheating on you on candid camera.
Also, like, how... Never mind. I was gonna say, how cool is it that I love two people in my life that their first name spelled backwards is their first name, and you are one of them. You're the second one, but Otto, God. Okay, all right.
Okay,
on to
and
the
then
next part.
right after we have all this time with Otto,
Yeah.
we get this really amazing line from Ram, and a man who only has good timing. Like,
Yeah.
she is dissing him, and Otto's kind of like, hey, can you at least say, like, one nice thing, please? And she's like, well, when it, like, gets to it, and we really need someone, he has really great timing.
I really genuinely appreciated that, like, moment from
Yeah.
Ram. Like, obviously knowing Ram as a character, it means the world, but it's also, like, I like that was the thing. It wasn't like, he never gives up, or, like, it's something that genuinely makes sense with the return by death ability.
I think what it also does is it ties you into the idea of love. Like, you trusting in someone for no real tangible basis. Like, Amelia's like, how do I believe you? Like, this is what you're saying is this giant, like, how do you tell someone truly loves you? You just have to believe it. And this idea that, she's like, well, he sucks at making tea and he's pretty useless in a lot of areas, but there's this, he just happens to make things work out for the best.
Yeah.
And that's just something you just have to believe in. Like, and I really love that tie there. And there was another great kind of moment that was Garth questioning Ram on why she was doing this. Like, is she going against Roswaal? And she's like, I'm going to do it, like, get what he wants my way.
Yeah.
And I really liked that autonomy there. That, like, even if she isn't completely functioning as, like, herself, like, and that's who she's thinking about, she is thinking about who she cares for the most, especially in a world where she doesn't know her sister.
It's so interesting because it's like, I know this isn't, like, in our face, but how they've managed to tie themes that we've explored already into characters that were never a part of that discussion is so, like, comfortable and so, like, satisfying.
This whole discussion has been us being like, oh yeah, and that's, like, when Subaru
Yeah.
is like this, and that's when Amelia's saying this, and all of these characters are going through, at least at different points, some type of similar arc or feeling or theme.
But it's also like, oh, fuck, maybe we're just now being able to realize it because Subaru did. Like, because of this new outward perspective of Subaru, like, so many things are happening in front of us that of course they'd happen if we let them.
Yeah.
Like, because of all the groundwork that we've already laid. It's phenomenal. Do you think, there's any connection with, this is, like, no way, but the divine protection and that being, like, bestowed on somebody since birth, do you think that it's fair to make any type of bridge between divine protection and return by death? Like, I feel like in its own right of only, like, this is something that happens to a person and it's, like, been bestowed on this person, whether they liked it or not, and it also isolates them in their own self, was just something that I could see as a comparison between what Otto had to deal with in Subaru, Maybe.
I do like the idea that possibly, like, what if the witches were the ones that, like, bestowed these? Because we already know that the witches,
that's interesting.
in their own way of caring for humanity, a lot of them did some weird things. Like, oh, I want to feed humans, so I'm going to create all of these rabbits.
Making all these different animals.
Yeah, like, I feel like it's, so then my, like, headcanon would be like, okay, then Felt, her blessing would be from Minerva, Wrath, I don't know. And Otto's would be...
From Daphne?
I don't know.
I mean, Daphne, if she created, like, the Great Rabbit and everything like that, it could be very animal-esque.
But it's obviously, like, what would be servicing them in that way. But if you think about what Echidna has done with certain characters, she kind of places them in a certain situation that she finds the most interesting. Like Garth, Betty, she's putting people into situations where she can then observe and learn how they will overcome whatever it is that they need to overcome.
Yeah.
And it's educational to her, it's entertaining to her. I wouldn't be surprised if she can be doing that, then some of the other witches might still also be doing things like that.
Subaru's, like, talk with Amelia at certain points, like, obviously I had said that, like, oh, this kind of reminds me of the Rem conversation, but it also gave me Satella. Like, you know, Satella telling Subaru, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. I don't know, it's just interesting. I like, obviously I'm not saying things are connected by this. I'm just appreciating that things are, like, narratively as a viewer, things are being stacked on themselves and not forgotten about, I guess, in, like, in theme.
I do like that idea of, like, continuously saying it. For both the Satella moment and here, because it's something that the person that's hearing it just needs to choose to believe. Like, what else can you do other than, you know, what Subaru, oh god, he's like, if you don't want to do this, dodge. Amazing. Thank you for that, Subaru. But just that idea that, like, how else other than all of his actions can he prove to her that he loves her other than just saying it and just hoping? At the end of the day, it just comes down to she needs to believe him.
Yep.
Yes, he's been suffering all this time. That fight, I didn't write anything down for that conversation because it was like as if you were either in a fight with someone you love or you were watching people fight and you're just there's these ups and downs to it. There's these moments where it seems like we're almost there and then moments where it's like, oh, but one of them kind of pulled away a little bit more. Like that whole conversation, that whole fight, I kept feeling like this like roller coaster, this ebbing and flowing of, okay, that was a really great thing he just said. How is she going to process that? Is he going to try a different approach? Oh, it seems like they're about to come to an understanding. That was a really clear way he communicated that. And then I'm being kind of tugged through this because it's also like, is she ready to be out of this conversation? Is she ready to believe you? Because if she's not ready, even if the words that you're saying make sense to her, or like she can understand them and process them, like, is she ready to face whatever it is of coming out of this conversation? Whatever she has to face after this conversation is knowing that people, you have to believe, there's just things in this world that you can't know for sure, and that's what she'd be having to face these kind of like really scary, anxiety-inducing ideas of, you will never have that actual tangible assurance that someone's gonna love you forever. You're just gonna have to trust that their words and their actions are true and that they really do. But she's having to face this idea that people could be lying to her. You know, it could happen. You just have to trust that they're not.
This season has had a way of really like breaking through, oh, I'm watching a show, and getting to like a core important part of me. I don't know if that's completely subjective or if a lot of people feel like that with this season. I'm incapable of saying if that's the case or not, but in terms of what you're talking about there and the conversation between Amelia and Subaru, I felt the exact same way, and I was thinking the same thing, and it makes me think, like, genuinely, in terms of, let's say, relationships, right? Like a partner romantically. Man, a few years ago, one of my friends was starting to talk to this girl he was interested in, and they were talking for a bit, and he was talking to me like, what do I have to say? What do I have to do? How do I be cool? How do I make her like me? How do I, how do I make this a relationship? And it kind of brought me back to like when I was a little kid or like high school, like kind of mindset, because I think through specifically being able to be with you, I've learned the lesson that you're never going to have an assurance that everything's okay. Mm-hmm. You're never going to have an assurance that nobody's lying to you, or that you're not going to be cheated on, or somebody's not going to pull the rug out from under you and just leave. And because of that, there's a very high chance that you are going to be broken at one point in time or another, or a few times, or a lot. But the only way you are going to find something that is truly love and meaningful and transcends other walls that people can put up is if both people are completely putting their heart on the line and risking it getting broken. And I cannot, like, Rezero is, like, making me appreciate that and think about that. And I love this show, man.
We were extremely lucky, I would say, upon meeting, because I think that both of us were in a time of our lives where we were ready to have... I've never seen maybe such a realistic kind of argument between two people who fight between like a couple that clearly cares about each other a lot, and there's love there. So it's hard to be fighting, it's hard to be communicating, it's hard to be telling the honest truth. Like when Subaru's like, yeah, Amelia, that's really effed up what you did earlier. I totally think, like, he's not gonna lie to you and like say that what you did is okay and it wasn't bad. Like, you need to call out the person you care about. Like,
and then
that
saying
behavior...
like, I lied to you about this. Yeah, I can't tell you why. You just have to believe me.
Mm-hmm.
I love you.
And it's just, I think that you get the best out of a relation. But why I loved this conversation, this fight at the end, I don't even want to call it a fight, because when you think of fights, you almost think of these meaningless things that people have in shows and movies and in real life that just seem like, why are you even having this conversation? How did it even start?
Yeah.
You know, there's no, at this point in it, there's no meaning to it. You're not going anywhere. You're going in circles. It's just
ego-filled.
Yes. But this was like, this needed to happen. This conversation, while there is, heightening of voices, everything that's being said it needs to be said. And unfortunately, they couldn't have had it earlier because they haven't really built their relationship off with a, hey, we're going to have healthy communication all the time. And they weren't already in a place as people where they were aware of their own flaws and what they wanted and how they should be communicating to others, what they should be appreciating about themselves and the others around them. But they're learning so much, especially Subaru, about who he wants to be and how he wants to treat himself and the people in his life, that's what makes this conversation possible. And I think that it's extremely lucky to get to a point, whether at the beginning of a relationship or even, for them it's probably more towards, they've been through a lot together, but they're not in a relationship, so it's more towards the beginning.
And doesn't that, I was about to say that even before that you just said that, but that's the perfect transition to, like, that's the point of what Subaru's mom said. Mm-hmm. It's not about the past or even, like, the present necessarily, it's about how it ends.
Them having this conversation, like, I think a lot of people could probably understand that, like, from anyone they've loved, it's not comfortable to be honest a lot. To say to someone, and I'm not just talking like, honey, do I look fat in this dress? I'm talking like, there's a lot of examples of that it's uncomfortable to be honest. It's uncomfortable to be like, hey, that thing you said earlier, like, that kind of bothered me. I don't know if I took it the wrong way, or hey, you used this word that I don't like. Like, even in, like, simpler cases like that where it just feels, am I being a little nitpicky, or, like, you don't want to be a bother, and you don't want the other person's like, well, I didn't mean to make you feel bad. Like, it hurts sometimes, or most of the time, to be that honest in a relationship, to have that communication, that give and that take of, like, trying to be good to yourself and healthy to yourself while also healthy to your partner. And the healthiest way you can be to yourself and your partner is to, like, say things that suck to say sometimes.
Yeah.
Because how else is anything gonna stay great and happy if you don't just kind of, like, take it and do the honesty thing?
The only way
the thing that hurts in the moment.
The only way that it isn't uncomfortable is if both people have each other's face in their eyes, like we see. Like, don't you
If
think
you're
that
truly
that's?
seeing the person.
Don't you think that that was
Yeah.
such a great way to portray that? Like, even in hindsight, it genuinely makes me like so emotional.
You're
Like,
so right. That's such a great way to portray
convey.
that like idea of that's like not only shows you like this is why it's worth it to have this honest moment here, but like once the person can truly be present with you and see you in the moment, see like, oh, this my significant other isn't trying to hurt me right now with telling me that I upset them. They're really just trying to be vulnerable here and open up and like
understanding,
be with me.
trust.
Yeah.
Like, understanding and trust. That's what it is. Like, it's, oh, I see. Like, that's
And when she finally looks up
where
and
this is coming from.
that whole time she was reflected in his
Oh.
eyes. That whole time he was present
God.
with her. And I'm like, that is such an like attractive idea of someone being like, yeah, words of like Subaru just being like, I love you, I love you, I love you. That's not what's attractive or romantic about that interaction.
Agreed.
At all. Someone just saying I love you at you is not inherently romantic at all. It's the fact that the entire
Can be
time he
creepy
was having
sometimes.
that conversation, not only the fact that he was willing to like diss her truthfully, like say the actual truth of the matter, like, yeah, you ran away and that sucked, and like, yeah, that probably hurt people, and like, you know, other than that, just the fact that he was present with her, that's the most romantic thing you could do for someone. But it's also like the best way to show love to anyone, even platonically or family, is to be actually present with them and be in the moment of like, we're gonna work through everything together. I'm here as like a full unconditional support. Like, even if you suck sometimes, I still love you. I suck sometimes.
Yeah.
We're not perfect, but I still want to be here with you, looking at you, working things out, talking to you. Even a fight can end up being like a, wow, I love you so much at the end of it. Like,
honestly, like,
because it just, especially if you handle it in like a good way where both people are trying so hard to be, you know, healthy and show their love, that even a disagreement, a fight can be a great example of that love by how you handle it. Because what it's showing is, okay, there's something here that we need to discuss that's uncomfortable, and we need to get through it. We're gonna get through it together, and then we're gonna feel so much like more on the same page and so much stronger at the end of it.
I love the idea of, I love you, I believe in you. You can't believe in me just because you love me. If you have trouble, ask yourself why I believe you. It's because you love me. Like, I like that the entire like conversation that Amelia and Subaru had this episode about it, and how it evolved into Amelia's understanding of what Subaru meant by the I believe in you because I love you.
Like, think of what Otto said.
So great.
Like, tell me everything, and then at the end, tell me to believe you.
Yep.
That's what Otto said last episode. Like, that's literally him being like, you are my friend. I love and care for you. If you tell me to believe you on something, I've already pre-decided that I am going to do that because I love you.
God, what a fucking fantastic episode.
I know.
More memories are coming back to Amelia, and then the conversation and the idea of somebody's most precious feeling, you know, and going forward with that in mind. I'm interested to see how that plays out from Amelia's perspective.
This idea of hers that you might love me now, but with all these memories coming back, like this uncertainty that she even knows herself, it makes a lot of sense to me. Like, if you suddenly remembered like all of these things and moments, this disassociative nature of like, wait, that was me, but like, you know, getting all of that content from your past back into your brain and really learning how you've become who you are, like your whole sense of self is destabilized here, because you already had this idea of yourself the best you could, of like how you came to be who you are, what are your ideals, what do you stand for, what do you do when you're sad, who do you care about most in the world. Like, she already has this concept of who she is, and now she's getting all of this new information, and not only this new information in these new sites, but the feelings that are tied to them. And those feelings are now going to make more sense to her because now she can see what they were tied to. And I am not surprised that she's feeling such a crazy amount of anxieties and unstable from that.
Yeah, of course.
No wonder these trials are scary too, because it's just making you go into your past and deal with things that you might have been subconsciously avoiding.
I'm really interested to see how the lie of Subaru and Puck, how they play out. It's interesting. Like typically I'm like, what's the lie? What is it? What could happen in the future? What's the motive behind it? But in how Rezero tends to play out for me, it's not about the goal that I'm trying to guess. It's not like, oh my god, that happened. It's about the understanding of why that happened that I'm just nothing but excited and looking forward to get to.
Do you think that what it is that Subaru had to leave was because Amelia has to choose to believe?
I think that could be a deeper meaning into why it is. But
that he might have actually been running around trying to secure some plans.
Yeah, but I was feeling in a similar sense that Amelia needed to do this for her, like for Amelia as a character to be able to get through this and progress. I think that she did need to have this conversation, and this did need to happen to her.
Think about it, like, just from an actual, like, why this would need to happen, like, on another end, too, is if she's constantly always leaning on or expecting Puck to be there, and then the moment Puck leaves, it's just gonna be remember when Subaru came back and we had that Amelia that was like hanging all over him, and it was unsettling and it was uncomfortable, and she was broken, and so she's like, that once he was there, we don't want an Amelia that is just looking for the next person that she can cling on to. Like, we need an Amelia that can be choosing to believe in herself, choosing to comfort herself, feeling like she can be, as Otto was, choosing to be able to love yourself even in being alone or isolated. Like, and then when you choose to make a friend, you pick one that actually, like, means something to you, and not just trying to pick anyone that's kind of there. Lean on anyone that's there.
I think it goes back to the conversation we were having about Subaru a few episodes ago about, like, just building on a foundation that's sturdy and deconstructing to the point that fault is, and then reconstructing it in a, more fulfilling, like, permanent manner.
Right, and I think back to that conversation with Otto and Subaru last episode too, with that line of Subaru at first is like, well, I already tried to trust in people. I already tried to tell people. And Otto was like, yeah, but you didn't tell me.
God.
And it's like, it's about picking the right people. It's about seeing the people that are right there in front of you and trusting in them, Gosh, everything
so
being
good.
so tied together.
It's
is
so
insane.
tied together. And you know how we were talking about, like, what it would be like on a rewatch? I feel like you'd just be, like, so emotional watching an orchestra perform that you're like, oh my god, I know what's coming.
Like,
let me feel it. Let me see. Like,
yeah, like every time I listen to River Flows in You, I know what's coming. I know the whole thing.
Yeah.
But I still cry every single time I hear it.
Mm-hmm. All right, that's all I have for now.
For now, yes.
You good?
Yes.
Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and we hope to see you next time.